Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. Wearing this Color Me Rad t-shirt tonight. And interesting story how I got this shirt was at a 5K down in Brockton a couple years back that I ran with some of my family. Me and the Delisles went. And I think I ran with Maddie the whole time. And of course, it's one of those color runs where they're getting you. And basically, all I did the whole time was hide behind Maddie so that she got hit with all the color dye and I didn't get a drop on me. But my favorite story about that race actually is the year prior, I did not run in the race and went down with Jen and Alex and Brittany and Sarah and Mike, and there were some other people. I don't remember everybody, but there were a couple things I really enjoyed about that particular race. The first part was that me and Mike didn't run it, and we were searching for hot dogs at like 9:30 in the morning. We finally talked a guy up into opening a little early so we could get some hot dogs. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning eating hot dogs while everybody else was running a race, which was great. And then the other thing that stands out to me about that particular race was that Alex Day, he was all bravado, like, oh, I got this, I can do it, and he just ran out and ran there. Well, the next day he went in church and asked Brittany, what was up, and she said, oh, he's so sore he can't move right now. And I've just never forgot that. Love to see what would happen to him running a 5K right now. Probably the same thing, maybe a little bit worse. But anyhow, hope everybody's doing well tonight. And so, as you may have noticed, with the governor's announcement today in Massachusetts that schools will be closed until May 4th. And so that means that you are, if you have children, you're homeschooling. Now, some watching this video, you already homeschool and you're well acquainted with it, and you've got a lot more people homeschooling with you. And so what this means is basically all our kids are going to be socially awkward people now that don't know how to function in society. No, I'm kidding, of course, like this. Let me say this. There's a stereotype of homeschool kids that they are not socially well adjusted. And I completely disagree with that assessment. I don't think what form of education you involve your children in has anything to do with the social skills that your children have, because you could go to any public school in high school in America and find very socially awkward people. You want to know what makes kids socially awkward? Socially awkward parents. You want to know what makes weird kids? Weird parents, all right? And it has nothing to do with the form of education. I know plenty of homeschool kids that are normal. I also know some ones that are real weird. And then there's the really annoying kind that think they know everything. Listen, while you're homeschooling, let me help you here. While you're homeschooling, don't let your kids think like they're the smartest people in the world, because they're not, all right? They're not, and it's annoying when kids act like they're smarter than adults. When I got some 10-year-old punk telling me like what's up, it annoys the fire out of me, and it annoys the fire out of every adult, and that's parenting, all right? So make sure that your kids are well adjusted. That's your job as a parent, regardless of your form of education. And but since for the next while everybody is going to be homeschooling, and there are various different methods, I should say, in which you can do that. Some are just going to be teaching their kids. Some are going to be doing a video school. Some schools are offering online things. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and it's like, online. Yeah, online would be wonderful for us. We have 4 kids in school and 1 computer. It's not going to work very well, all right? And some others have that same challenge. And so, what we need to consider here, so I want to give you some thoughts about, teaching your kids, regardless of how you're going about doing it, teaching your kids while they're home with you, for as long as they're home with you. And it may be a few weeks, it could be a few months, could be through the rest of the year. The fact of the matter is as we deal with the fallout of this virus, the reality is that we have absolutely no idea how long this is going to go for. And what we do know is that social distancing, while it does save lives, it also does increase the duration in which the virus is present, which means that this this could be affecting our society in some capacity longer, and that's just the reality that we have to deal with. But we need to give our kids what they need. We need to be able to teach our kids to function in society. In the book of Daniel, in chapter number 1, and I should have marked it there before I got going on this, but in Daniel chapter 1, and I'm almost there now, there's a verse here that is very interesting. I've preached on this before, but it says here that in verse 3, actually, and the king spake to Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as ability in them to stand in the king's palace, whom they might teach, and the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Now, what we see here is and we're using the Babylonian kingdom here as a principle that the world, all right, we're using them as an illustration of the world. The world is looking for educated people that are wise, that have wisdom, that have understanding, people that can learn, as they wanted to teach them the Chaldean language. And so what we need to do is make sure that our kids have understanding in science and math and English. We want to make sure our kids are teachable. We want to make sure that they have an element of wisdom to them, so that they can be, get good jobs and do different good things in this world. And I'm not saying that we should live for the world. I don't believe that at all. But we are in the world. And the fact of the matter is, as Christians, we should desire to influence people for the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, we do a better job of influencing people for the Lord Jesus Christ when we are in positions of authority. Now, when we are in positions of authority, how are we going to get there? Well, education's a component to that. We need to be skillful in wisdom and understanding. We need to have degrees and certifications and different things like that help us to obtain these positions where we can use our position of authority for influence for the Lord Jesus Christ. There's nothing sinister about that. Fact of the matter is, I want people to get good jobs, and just by getting good jobs, you have more influence. That's the reality of the world that we live in. Now, what we want to do is this. While you have your kids in school, the reality is some of you are not used to teaching, okay? And you're really overwhelmed right now. You're trying to figure out. Some of you got it down. Listen, let me say this. To those of you that are homeschooled already, and this is normal, as you hear people talking, okay, about the struggles they're having, you have got to be gracious, all right? Yes, you know what you're doing. They don't. They didn't ask for this. They didn't plan for this, okay? This turned their whole world upside down. So you not only need to be gracious, you need to be helpful, okay? So for you homeschoolers, be helpful to those public schools and Christian school families that their kids are home, and this is something that maybe they've never done before. You know, our kids have been in Christian school the last 2 years. For the previous 7 years prior to that, we homeschooled. So this is an easier adjustment. It's still an adjustment. We weren't planning on doing this, but it's an easier adjustment for however long it is. So be gracious with people, but secondly, be helpful. And for those of you who are now homeschooling that weren't planning on it, let me say this. Do school, right? Don't do a disservice to your kids by letting them lay around playing on tablets and video games and phones all day. Don't take them to the grocery store. And of course, I know no one's going anywhere right now anyways, but don't take them to the grocery store and have them count change and call it math class for the day. That's ridiculous. All right? Don't go to the park and call it social studies or gym class. No. Teach the school, all right? Teach them the school. Get the schoolwork from the teachers and do the best you can with it. You know, you're going to need to be gracious with people, but, gracious with yourself, but I'll get to that in a second. But listen, do the work. Do the work. And if you need help, get the help. I'm sure the schools are going to figure it out, and they'll make help available to those that need it one way or another, or within your network or friends or whoever, look, if anybody's got a math question, Rebecca Moore, and she ain't doing anything all day. She's holed up in Chester. You should get her on the phone, FaceTime with her. She'll help the whole church with math, okay? And, so utilize the resources, that you have, okay? Get the assignments. Make sure your kids are doing the work. Because one of the things about homeschoolers that you may not realize is sometimes they don't do the work. It's your responsibility as a parent to make sure your kids are doing their work, all right? And so you want to make sure you're involved in that. And now let me say this. Here's the thing. To them, you're the new teacher. And you know what you do to a new teacher? You test them to find out what you can get away with. So they're going to test you. Don't let them get away with it. You lay down the law and let them know who's in charge, and you let them know they're going to do their work. We've had a little problem with Titus the last few days, and he is just not wanting to do his work. Well, he just spent a long time in his room today, a lot longer than he wanted to. I said, son, you got really two choices. You can do your work with a good attitude, or you can just hang out in here for a long time. And then when you finally do get out, that work's going to be sitting right there for you, but you're not going to do it with a bad attitude. So let them know who's in charge, and don't let them test you, the new teacher, to see what they can get away with, or they're going to try to, but let them know they can't get away with much. Now, let me say this. I got two more points for you real quick here. Is one, be gracious. Be gracious with the kids. They're adjusting to something they weren't planning on, all right? That's not easy. And be gracious with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you don't know some of the math or some of the stuff. Look, they've been studying this all, and it's not that you aren't smart enough to learn it. You are. Every one of us is. It's just the reality is that it can be a little challenging to recall some of these things, or like with math, I'll tell Sam, like, look, I don't know how to get the equation. I can solve the problem in my head, but how to do it properly with the equation, I don't know. And because I don't know the formulas, I don't remember, because it's been 20 something years since I was in taking her math, 25 years. I just don't remember the equations anymore. And so be gracious with yourself. You're doing the best you can. You're learning on the fly. You're trying to figure out different things, and be gracious with the teachers. All right, the teachers, they're thrust into a tough situation, and they're doing the best they can with the resources that they have at their disposal. Some have more, some have less, but just a key thing here is just be gracious with every party involved. And then lastly, develop a sustainable model. All right, develop something that can last. All right, because as Massachusetts just said, there's no school till May 4th. Okay, well, you need a model that's going to last for a while. All right, and for anybody who goes to school up in New Hampshire, look, if history's telling us anything, New Hampshire's are just a week behind Massachusetts. So whatever Massachusetts does, New Hampshire's going to do a few days later to a week later. All right, so you need to prepare. No matter what's been said, you need to have a model that's going to work for you and your family. That's a sustainable model. And honestly, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but I think in your mind, as I talked about last night, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. What you need to have is a model that'll work through the rest of the year, because you got to put it on the table at this point. Hopefully that won't happen. But if you have any other model in place, you're like, well, this will work for a week or two, and then if that doesn't happen, I don't know what's going to happen. You need a different model. You got to come up with a system that will work, that's sustainable for you and your family. And if you don't have one, you need to find one and let the Lord guide you. I'm here to help. I can offer suggestions, give ideas, and so on. Look, this is just one of those practical little things. I know this doesn't affect everybody in our church, but it does affect quite a few people. And, with this schooling issue. And so hopefully some of these things are helpful, as we have a need to educate our children so that they can be of influence for Christ in this world. And we want to do good by our kids and make sure that they're getting equal opportunity to thrive and do well. And so I hope that this is a help. And, if I can be a help in any way as time goes on, I'm here, Jen's here, we're here to help you, to give you our ideas about homeschooling. And of course, we have other homeschoolers in the church as well that have a lot of great ideas as well. And so we're all here to help one another. And so good luck. Don't mess up your kids. Have a good night. Bye.